Welcome to a rematch camera comparison. So these phones have had many firmware updates, improvements to their cameras, to the quality, and as a result, they could be very different now from when I first tested them out. So this is the Honor Magic 6 Pro versus the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So they all are on, of course, their latest firmwares. There is quite a bit of wind at the moment, so this is a good test of those microphones to see which one handles the wind noise the best. So front-facing cameras 4K 30 frames per second. I will jog ahead a little. Not that you would do this normally, but it's just to test out and see which one is the steadiest here and offers the best quality for front vlog footage. These are now our main cameras. As I walk along, we should not see any jolts or tremors. Electronic and optical image stabilization should be able to handle this really well and make the footage look very steady indeed. These are flagship phones. So I'll go over to the ultra wide now. So first with our Honor, then with the Samsung, and now with the iPhone. So these ultra wide cameras are now using electronic image stabilization. And there is quite a bit of wind. It's almost shaking these cameras around too as I hold them. So does one of them look better? I can see from a field of view point of view, the widest does seem to be perhaps the iPhone. I go back to those main cameras now with their optical and electronic image stabilization. Let's apply a little bit of zoom. So we've got 2.5 optical with the Honor, but it's a 200 megapixel camera. I wonder if that's going to make a difference. That's 2.6 at the moment. 3 with the Samsung. These are the default presets. You do have 2 with the iPhone, holding it steady as I can. 5 times now with our iPhone, 5 times with the Samsung. And I need to pinch to zoom in here with the Honor. That is now 5 times the zoom. I'm starting to see a bit of a difference now, so we'll take it up to 10 with the Samsung, looking at this boat, and now 10 times with the iPhone, 10 times with our Honor. That's the maximum. I cannot go over that, and honestly I don't think you would want to really, because the more you zoom in or digital there, the worse it's going to start to look. So I'm just panning around really slowly, and I'll go back now to those ultra wide cameras. So that is 4K 30, the rear cameras with these phones. Rear main cameras, 4K 30 in low light now. You can sometimes see the jolts of me walking ahead. It's normal when it's low light. There's a boat coming in the background there, but it's a little hard to see, so I'll apply a little bit of zoom here. That's 1.4. I'll take it up to 2 times, in fact, so we can have a look at that boat. So there's 2 times zoom, which is digital, still using those main cameras. Still at 2 times digital. You can see the castle of Denia there in the background. Blue light. And I go over to our main cameras again. Just looking down here at the marina. This is the area. And more of a brisk walk, testing that stability at low light. Which one do you think looks the best here? Has the most usable footage, hopefully with the least amount of noise and drop frames. Okay, onto the stills now. First up is a macro shot of this very bright purple flower, indirect sunlight, difficult. Now the iPhone, if you look at the background, this image is very flat when it goes into the macro mode. There's a lot of noise, and I don't like all that noise that I'm seeing. I think it kind of ruins the shot. When you crop it and zoom, you can see that all 3 of them are clipping those bright purple colors. The Samsung hasn't quite got the focus there, and neither has the Magic 6 Pro, but I believe it is the best photo for this macro shot, and I do like that background blur. With this shot, I am testing out the HDR. Now, I did tap to focus on where the hands are of this dancer. The iPhone got the auto exposure completely wrong. It messed up somehow. And the background, you can see that it's not good. The shadows are, well, there's no detail really where you can see that bar behind the restaurant. Whereas with the Samsung, it's the best here. It has the most details in the background there. So it's lifting out those details in the shadows, as you want, of course, with high dynamic range. And then the Magic 6 Pro, that comes in at 2nd place for me, but iPhone definitely last. ultra wide cameras, and all three you can see have slightly different colors to them. You can tell that the Honor and the Samsung are a little bit different there.
more of a cool white balance to them. The Samsung may be a bit more neutral and the iPhone looks a bit warmer, but that is just really how I saw it, more true to life. This is now the main camera and it's the same story. So with the white balance, I have noticed that it seems to be the iPhone that is more accurate out of these three phones, and the Honor seems to always be just a little bit cool, the white balance. Even after all the firmware updates that these phones have had, the Honor, well, it still isn't that good when you zoom in a lot. This is 10 times across all three of them. Samsung looks the best, but it is a bit over sharpened. The iPhone is second, and our Honor last place. Now, it only has 2.5 times optical zoom. However, it has the largest megapixel count, 180 megapixels, but the optical zoom definitely won out here. Still keeping with zoom shots, I took it back now to 5 times zoom across all three of them. So that's the optical maximum with both the Samsung and the iPhone. So it looks like a good shot. The iPhone has a little bit more contrast to it. The Samsung looks good. And here the Honor, even though it's only 2.5 times optical, at 5 times it's still fine because of that megapixel count. It still takes a decent photo. With this shot of my cat Vera, it looks like all three of them are pretty much the same, okay, but you do need to crop in to see some differences. Straight away I can see that the Samsung is in third place. It doesn't capture as much detail around Vera's nose, which was the focal point for all three of these phones. Always tap to focus on her little pink nose. The iPhone gets the white balance more correct, more true to life. It captures a lot more detail around her cheeks and her nose and her paw that you can see closest to the camera. Second place, the Honor. It's not a bad shot. It's got a bit too much contrast and her white fur just looks a little too white. When it does come to portrait photography, with all three of them, they handle skin tones quite differently. The stitching as well. Typical Apple here. The white balance seems to be very warm, almost giving orange skin tones at times with selfies and with portrait shots. The stitching I didn't find this time around that good. I think the best stitching was either the Honor or the Samsung. The Honor's a little bit overexposed, skin tones perhaps a bit white. I think the Samsung has the more pleasant skin tones, good stitching, and overall the Samsung gets the win for portrait and selfie photography for me. And if you do like night photography, you plan to take a lot of low light shots, you can see that the Honor, that's the one on the left, it's clearly labeled there too, it's oversaturated and the white balance is completely off. It's just too warm here. That orange is far too orange. Now the Samsung, best white balance here, more true to life. Those boats do look blue. There's some blue LEDs that are out. And it's come through correct. It should look quite blue. It's not quite blue with the iPhone. The iPhone shot is good. It's very passable, so is the Samsung. So it's between those two, but I have to pick a winner, and it is the Samsung. And then zoom shots in low light. This is 5 times. I don't like what's happening with the Samsung. It's a very muddy looking shot. I mean, look at the sea there. It's lost all details. There's a lot of noise, patchy areas, artifacts. No, not good at all. The Honor is similar. It's a bit muddy looking. It's all, no, not very good. The best one is our iPhone here. It's 5 times low light shot. But what I have discovered is if you're taking a lot of low light photography with the main camera, they do trade blows. Now, if you have a look at this, the Samsung processes the sky a lot more differently there. You don't get those different shades of those clouds as much as you do with the iPhone or the Honor. Now, the Honor, I do like this shot. I like the way it has rendered those clouds or processed them, because you can see there's different shades from the dark to the lighter gray. The lights in the distance are that yellowy color here in Europe, and the stones, the white balance is good. We get some details of the sea, whereas the Samsung kind of destroys the details in the sea there. And the iPhone is, for me, a close second. So it's the Honor with this one, the iPhone second, and then the Samsung in last place. So this is why I say they trade blows, and I could go on all night like this with various different samples. Sometimes they win one phone, the other doesn't. It's a bit of a mixed bag with low light photography. Okay, so that is the comparison. This is, of course, a retest, as I mentioned in the start, with all the firmware updates. So what I found is that for video, it is still the smoothest, the least amount of stuttering. the iPhone. So when you pan around, it doesn't normally exhibit any judder, especially in low light. I found that the Honor was quite poor at that. The Samsung, however, in low light video did look good. The best audio for video was the Samsung. It handled the wind noise a lot better than the other two. The iPhone was terrible at times, especially when I zoomed in with that video. Portrait shots, I think it's the Samsung. More pleasant skin tones, good stitching. For selfies, it is the same. Daytime stills are very, very similar between the ultra wide and the main cameras. It's all down to personal preference on that white balance. With low light, as I just showed you, it's a bit hit and miss. The Honor can take some really good low light shots, like that one with the clouds and the sea and the rocks there was very good. But then sometimes its white balance can be slightly off. So there have been some changes. There have been some improvements across all three after so long. Thank you so much for watching this camera comparison. I do hope to see you back in the channel for more. Bye for now.